everyone. Welcome to another episode of Off Script with Pastor Jared. I'm here with my good friends,
Pastor Dillon
and
Pastor Caleb.
Welcome. So today, we're going to talk about something that's in the news and something Southern Baptists have been talking about for quite some time, but really relevant right now because we're in the middle of a news break going on in the sports world, Caleb's top world.
Not at all.
A world that you know much about.
I know nothing about.
Are you guys really excited about NBA coming back to NBC?
What is NBA? Okay, I do know what that is.
Okay. Anyway, the NBA just got blown up yesterday at this time of recording. Not sure when you guys are listening to it, but really big news is that a massive gambling operation was uncovered and has come out. There's a couple of layers to it. I think there's going to be more coming out in the couple of weeks to follow, I would imagine. It sounds like the FBI is really onto something, and they've uncovered. I mean, you're hearing like mafia names come out, right? I mean, Dillon, you know the story of this part, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Al Capone?
You don't know?
Yes, Al Capone.
No.
I don't think he was listed. No.
Okay.
But it's a really big story. The big names that were mentioned is an active player named Terry Rozier was caught participating in, I don't know if game fixing is the correct term, but he was leaking information about injury reports or saying he would go out at this time in the game with an injury that may or may not have been real and causing the over and unders to be slightly adjusted.
Kind of a more advanced point shaving, essentially.
Fixing a race.
It is. So he has inside information about the team, and I think something came out. There's another guy named Damon Jones who's a former player and I think involved as a coach at some point, media personality. I just heard a story a few hours ago that one thing that he did was he had inside info that LeBron James wasn't going to play on a certain night against the Milwaukee Bucks, and he let that information be known when no one else knew that it was going to be a game time decision after the bets were in. And so he leaked that. Lots of money apparently went, for the Bucks to win that night. They did, and that's illegal. That's fixing the gambling. And then the big name involved was Chauncey Billups, who's a big time former player. I'd almost.
I have no clue.
I would bet that you don't know who that is.
I know LeBron James and was also surprised to know that he is still playing basketball.
Okay. Chauncey Billups, really big player for the Pistons back in the day, led that defensive-minded Detroit Pistons team to defeat the Lakers, one of the big upsets. But anyway, he was a coach now for the Portland Trail Blazers, and he was implicated, not so far in point shaving and things like that, but he was implicated in a mafia-style high-stakes poker ring that was using extremely high technology, RFID chips in the cards and cameras and earpieces and glasses that can see infrared and all sorts of. So basically they use Chauncey Billups as they call him the face card to say like, hey, there's a high-stakes poker game going on at so-and-so place. Chauncey's going to be there. You should come. And then a high roller will come and want to play, not knowing the entire event is fixed to beat that guy and get his money. And so that was going on. And obviously that's very illegal. Even in Vegas, that's illegal. So that was blown up, and there's a lot going on with that. But that's for the fresh part of this story and why we're doing this episode today. But it just made me think about the broader topic of gambling and Christians and the Christian thoughts about gambling. And I thought that we would maybe address that a little bit. And particularly, this is relating to sports. And so we can dabble in sports betting a little bit as well. But I think in general, gambling overall. So in general, what have you guys heard over the years as far as like the Southern Baptist position on gambling? How have you felt since growing up, or the churches you've been a part of? What have you kind of taken as our collective stance?
It was listed among the don't drink, don't smoke, don't gamble, and don't cuss.
Yeah.
It was one of the four.
Okay.
That,
unsavory
all
things.
the Sunday school leaders taught all the way growing up. and even since being, at other churches. Yeah.
Do you hear that much anymore? Because you said past tense taught. Is it less talked about today?
The gambling?
Yeah.
Probably.
What do you think?
Yeah, no, I think it was taught, especially I remember growing up, you heard, oh, you can't be gambling, you can't do, and all that.
Dope dance could be in there as well.
Right.
That's number 5.
Yes, that's the 5th one.
But I feel like it has waned off, and I think a hard part too is you can literally bet on anything now.
So my thesis that I'm getting to here is I think the average teaching on gambling has dwindled, but the actual occurrence of gambling has increased.
Yep.
There's more gambling going on now through sports betting that's been legalized now.
Sports betting wasn't legal?
No, it used to be illegal.
No.
I remember growing up, like you get in big trouble for like college sports was a big one. Like, but now like they started paying players and everything. Like
I don't know the exact year, but I want to say
I have.
5-6 years maybe now.
I'd say about that because I remember it was not legal in Tennessee until recently. I feel like
The lack of knowledge I have for not knowing anything about sports.
Well, yeah. Well, you started seeing it in. I'll tell you when I started noticing is all of a sudden shows that I would watch, whether it be on TV or podcast or YouTube shows about sports, would all of a sudden be sponsored by DraftKings or sponsored by FanDuel.
I've heard of them. I just thought that like online betting went legal.
No,
or something.
and then you started seeing. I noticed in the ESPN app, and I'm checking my scores. Usually, I'm checking the Tennessee football games and all the info on that. You'd start seeing numbers that I've never seen before. Pluses and minuses and ESPN Bet. And I looked up that and I said, they have their own in-house betting organization. So, and you can do it right in the app there through the ESPN app. And so, and then I started hearing on sports talk radio, guys, instead of just talking about the scores, which I was used to growing up, it was like, who's going to win by what? How much do you think they're going to win by or lose by? Right. What do you predict the score? Now you're hearing what's the over, what's the under, and
I don't know what that means.
I wasn't used to that. I mean, I was like, what terms are these betting terms? And I looked it up and I was like, yeah. So we're now, the vocabulary of sports TV has changed to betting teams. And like when people are talking about who's going to win the game, they don't just say, give us your score. They say, are they going to hit the over? Are they going to hit the under?
I don't know what that means.
I mean, you can take it even further. Like I remember a few years ago hearing like people were betting on what color Gatorade was thrown on a coach at the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Like you can bet who's going to score the first point.
It's
like,
everything.
So-and-so misses this many shots. Like it literally, you can, if you can think of it, you can bet on it at this point.
You're hearing things like, I never knew what a parlay was.
Yeah.
And now it's built into the fabric of the conversation of
Like
sports.
from Pirates of the Caribbean?
Yeah.
That
No.
parlay? No?
I think you're thinking of parfait. Like,
No.
it's
Probably the
That's a
Francais.
dessert. I know that one.
So like an over and under would be like, not only are they going to win, but how many points are they going to win by? And do you think it'll be over 7.5 points or under 7.5 points? Like that's now the way that they're talking about sports. And so your bet would be not just on the winner or the loser. It would be on, do you think that, Alabama is going to win by 8 points or more or 7 points or less, which is now the,
I'm currently just
but you can
glad
see how,
to not be in this
but
world.
But you can see how depravity could get into that. And this is all known by the players and coaches, right? So like someone on the team knows this information and say it's the end of the game and the game is won, but you have a chance to either score or not score that extra touchdown or field goal that would affect this final number. And so that's where it starts to creep in to people that if you've bet on this game and you're a player and you stand to win if you win by more than 8 points, for example, and you're, marching down the field in a time when you might normally take a knee, you might be more likely to go for it, So that's where this starts to really play into the integrity of the game.
I think I remember recently an NBA player, he missed a free throw on purpose at the end of the game so people could hit their bets.
Sure. You know that it's happening, but can you prove it? That's the
thing. Like, yeah.
So all of that to say,
Are you proposing that we sequester all sports athletes before major games?
I mean, all I know that I grew up. No, but I knew that I
You want to bring the bubble back?
But isn't it interesting though that like Pete Rose had his whole life just destroyed by this, and now it's everywhere.
He's still not in the Hall of Fame. Yeah.
But anyway, if you go, I think my point is that the Southern Baptist, your average Southern Baptist pastor used to talk about gambling,
a lot,
maybe a little much. I don't know, but I'm just saying you're right. It was actually in church covenants. Did you guys ever read old church covenants?
I'm gonna be honest with you, no.
Okay, I appreciate the honesty. Old church covenants used to have specific sins listed that you would abstain from, and they were the ones you mentioned. Like, I will abstain from pornography and gambling and backbiting and like they said those words, and they were in there. And I think now, as the irony is that now more people are involved in gambling through sports betting, and we actually hear less about it. I pulled up though the SBC resolution list, which I have in front of me, and this is just a listing of since 1890. That was the first mention of gambling by the SBC annual meeting. They make those resolutions where they speak on moral statements. And in 1890, there was a Louisiana lottery that was beginning, and they spoke against it and, said that it exploits the poor and it promotes greed, and called to resist it. It was very simple, a very short resolution. But again, in 1926, a second one came out of Houston, and it was on lotteries that reiterated opposition to lotteries, condemned them as moral evil that undermines honest labor and family stability. In 1953, again, in a Houston convention, it declared gambling sinful, opposing all forms, including horse racing and slot machines. That must have been the new thing at the time, because they mentioned them specifically, violating Christian stewardship and leading to addiction. So you see, every year they're kind of developing a new thought on it. In 1961, Kansas City, it said that it affirmed gambling as a social evil, urging churches to educate against it and support anti-gambling legislation. Again, in Dallas in 1974, condemned the expansion of gambling, calling it a parasitic industry that preys on the vulnerable and erodes community morals. So could go on and on and on. You had those in 79, 80, 82, 90, 94, 96, 2006, 2010, 2017, and most recently 2025 in Dallas, which I will look at in a second, have that resolution in front of me. But it's not true that it hasn't been coming up at the conventions. That is consistently coming up every few years at the conventions. So whatever lapse in it being mentioned has come from the pastors themselves broadly. It's just, or whatever thought leaders we have, it's just been brought up less and less and less. And I wonder why that might be. Why don't we see it as serious as they saw it, apparently, in the past or through all those years? They were really concerned with it.
They were really concerned with dancing too.
Right. Which, probably
was a little much.
Wasn't an issue as much as they thought, but
So is it that or
no? I think this actually is a big deal. I have in my hometown where I was born, my hometown in Bristol, Tennessee. Actually, I think it might be on the Virginia side. I'm not sure, but they were putting in. So the Bristol Mall went out, like most malls, and
sad day.
It was going down, but it got bought by a massive casino thing, like what you have in Tupelo. I don't know the name of it. I don't know if it's a Hard Rock or I don't know what it is.
There's something in Tupelo?
Oh yeah.
I did not know that.
Dillon, isn't there gambling in Tupelo? Am I wrong, or is it another city? What's the big one in Mississippi?
Yeah, Tunica.
Tunica, thank you. It's Tunica.
I was very surprised. I was like, "That."
Sorry,
you don't even know you
was
passed
close.
Tupelo.
You also got to remember there are certain specifications, like a gambling has to be on water or something like that.
That's in Louisiana.
Well, and
I think it's like
and
statewide at least.
Indian reservations get a special pass a lot of times on these things. But but anyway, I can't remember the reason, all the details, but it was going into the Bristol Mall, and it was going to be a huge industry. And a pastor friend of my dad's and mine, as I've grown up, Scott Price at Fellowship Chapel in Bristol, Virginia, he spoke against it and really tried to prevent this thing from coming in, tried to rally community support, because basically said every time, you can track it, every time a major casino or a gambling comes into a place, the city gets worse. Crime increases, drugs increase, bad stuff starts happening, and it just drops the quality of life in the city. And there's money, but a lot of things come with that money that are negative too. And that's almost provable in every single case. And he took a lot of heat. He took a lot of heat for that. I think a lot of people spoke out against him for that stance. So it's not popular today to stand against gambling, especially as it's become more popular. But what I want to look at before we just give a few biblical principles on it is I have the 2025. Which is this year, Dallas Southern Baptist Convention statement on a resolution on gambling and sports betting. So you guys feel free. I'm going to read through this. And we did this for IVF a few episodes back because they made a resolution on that. So you guys feel free to interject at any point if you find something interesting, all right? So it says, whereas the Southern Baptist Convention has a long-standing history of opposing gambling in its various forms and recognizes its destructive potential, and whereas an increasing majority of states are now promoting and regulating sports betting since the 2018 Supreme Court decision in Murphy v. National Collegiate Athletic Association allowed states to legalize the practice, contributing to it becoming one of the fastest-growing enterprises in the world. And whereas sports betting continues to advance and integrate itself into modern athletics at both the professional and collegiate levels, and whereas the rapid expansion of legalized sports betting presents significant spiritual, moral, ethical, and society concerns, and whereas the normalization of sports betting commodifies participants' risks, the compromising of integrity of the athletic competition, and jeopardizes the safety of competitors. We should stop there. There's a lot in there. All right.
So many whereases.
That's how the resolutions are. Whereas, resolved. That's just
who speaks like that?
It's tradition. So
tradition is just peer pressure from dead people.
Okay. So it says there's a lot of things in here that I want to stop and just say because it is affirming some givens, and that it is that gambling or sports betting has spiritual, moral, ethical, and societal concerns. So they're saying right from the beginning that there is more to this than just what meets the eye, and that this is interesting wording, commodifies participants. It risks compromising the integrity of athletics and jeopardizes the safety of competitors. That's an interesting take. How do you see that happening, I guess?
Well, so I know a guy who he was a ref for the NCAA, and they had people like coming to them saying you need to make this team win, and they were threatening families and other things. Like, I know a guy who personally, he went through this, and we're like, it's just a dog-eat-dog world. Like, people and fans getting mad when their teams lose and other things.
Because there's money in it. And
so there's money in it.
Now there's threats if you don't play ball and if you don't do what it takes for me to get my money.
Yeah.
It feels very mafia-like.
Oh, well, I feel like you don't ever hear of a bookie anymore, but they're out there.
Right.
It's just everybody's a bookie now because they're trying to get their payout.
I'm not a bookie.
Well, you don't watch sports, so.
Said everybody.
Okay,
I'm not a bookie.
Sorry. Only Sith deals in absolutes.
Only when you're reading. All right. It says this also, whereas the sports betting industry fosters a culture of greed while specifically exploiting and preying upon young adults, the impoverished, and those with addictive personality traits. I think it's worth stopping there too. One of the strong pushes of our Baptist grandfathers would have been that this is like a poor tax. Yeah, people say that about the lottery too. That it whatever you think, it absolutely hits the poor at a higher clip. They're more likely to buy into it and play it, and it hits them harder and it takes their money at a higher rate.
Well, that and like you think about it, like a lot of them can't afford to give some of these lottery tickets, but it's the chance, man. If I win, then I'm out of this state.
Right. Yeah. It's a high promise to somebody who may not have a lot.
Yeah.
And if they think if I just can win it big, and so, but what ends up happening is, the house always wins. I mean, that's in gambling. That, I think I've said that before, but if you ever been to Vegas, y'all been to Vegas?
Nope.
Ever? All right. I've been to Vegas. You ever walk through those casinos, the MGM Grand and the Bellagio and the Venetian? You walk through those and you look around and you think, well, they didn't build these things because they were losing.
Yeah.
They built these things because they were winning.
No, the roulette table, you get like an 8% chance of winning.
Well, yeah, even
that's
like
if the board is perfect.
I remember you learning the rules of blackjack playing with your friends. Dealer always wins in a tie.
Ultimately, yeah. So anyway, it's just a good thing to think about and also it says those with addictive personality traits. A lot of times at the end of those gambling sponsorships, when they say the words
if
real fast.
If you were a friend of struggling with that gambling,
you like slow down and you're like, what did they just say? Or that was the gambling hotline. Like if you're really noticing that you're getting addicted, please call this number.
Same kind of people that read the just in case you have heart problems or all these defects for medicine.
Yeah,
like maybe you shouldn't take
this
these.
medicine.
Please consult a doctor.
It'll help your headaches, but you might have all these awful things and you might die.
Suicidal thoughts, bleeding from all your orifices.
Yeah, awful things. Like your eyeballs will go inverted and you'll see colors wrong.
And it's the most like fast and like low. Like it's just like they have. I'm sure it legally meets the requirements you have to say after. Hey, do betting on FanDuel this week.
Well,
you know what's better than having slight headaches, or what's better than seeing inverted colors? Is having slight headaches. Like I would much rather have that. I would much rather have whatever they're trying to fix.
At the end of the alcohol, beer commercials or whatever they're selling, they'll throw in that little line real quick. Please drink responsibly.
Or cigarettes, this can cause carcinoma, maybe addictive.
Yeah. So it's the same thing, but I like that they mentioned that this preys upon those with addictive personality traits. Because
do you think there will be a commercial like the mesothelioma commercial, but about gambling in 30, 40 years?
My name is Doug.
And I did DraftKings. And here's my story.
You never know, man. It might... So
don't catch any of us on that.
Continuing on, it says whereas the influence of sports betting has been heightened due to the ease and accessibility of online and mobile platforms, which facilitate decreased accountability and increased fiscal irresponsibility by users, having led to never before seen levels of gambling addiction and financial ruin. And whereas sports betting does not comply with the biblical principles of stewardship, work, and integrity, encouraging reckless management of resources entrusted to us by our sovereign Lord, then it gives several scripture passages. Resolved that the messengers of the Southern Baptist Convention in Dallas, Texas, condemn sports betting in all its forms, and be it further resolved that we denounce the promotion and normalization of this predatory industry in every athletic context, and be it further resolved that we express our deep concern regarding its detrimental impact on individuals, families, and communities. And be it further resolved that we hold forth the caution of Scripture that those who want to be rich fall into temptation, a trap, and many foolish and harmful desires, which plunge people into ruin and destruction. And it be further resolved that we call upon corporations involved in this industry to cease their exploitative practices, and be it further resolved that we urge our leaders at all levels of government to curtail sports betting and to address its disastrous effects through policy legislation, and be it further resolved that we encourage our Southern Baptist Convention leaders, entities, and pastors to continue to educate our churches on the deceptive sin of gambling through biblical instruction and practical resources while providing compassionate support and counseling to those struggling with gambling addiction and its consequences. And be it finally, last one, resolved that we call upon our fellow Southern Baptists and all followers of Christ to repent where needed, mourn the ubiquitous presence of sports betting in our culture, and refuse to participate in the sin of gambling. What do you guys think about the resolution here?
I think it's good. It's just it's reiterating like, hey, we see all this stuff, and this is the stuff we've seen over decades, but now we're going to apply it even further to now. Especially the part.
Well, the sports betting is new.
sports betting, it talks about, where is it? I think it's on the first.
It seems like every year it's been something different. You had
The decreased accountability, increased fiscal irresponsibility. But I think they're addressing it, saying like, hey, this is not just going to be swept under the rug. We're going to be like, hey, we know exactly how these things are going.
And they encourage us as pastors to speak against it.
Yep.
In the past it was casinos and horse racing, dog racing, and you had to go see the bookie. But now you just do it in your phone. You've got all of it right there, quick.
And the hard part too is I feel like I know a lot of YouTubers, like they're giving ads for this cooking videos I watch.
And they'll say your first $250 of bets are free or something like that.
Use code blah blah blah.
If you put $5 down, you get $200 worth of betting money or something. You've seen those, right?
Yeah.
So they're they're trying. It's like a drug. They give you a little bit of drugs and hope you get addicted and hope you keep coming back. So I think this is a good resolution, and I applaud them for taking a stand on this, and I think it's really good. I think there's a lot of good things in here that they mentioned, the biblical principles at play of stewardship and work and integrity and managing our money. I just think there's no way you can square, and here we'll pivot, guys, to the biblical principle. So anything you want to say on that, be ready. But I think there's no way to square the biblical commands with gambling. And I think there's no verse in the Bible that says thou shalt not gamble. It's not like
right. It's not directly addressed specifically about gambling, but the way we know it.
There are plenty of principles relating to money and work and honesty and all of those things that would make gambling something Christians should not get involved with.
Yep.
So what would you say are some just encouragements to the Christian not to gamble, broadly speaking? Somebody comes up to you, a young person or whatever, and they say that they've been putting some money down on some games, and
do the math.
They're concerned. And they don't know if it's right or wrong. As a Christian, is it right or wrong? What would you tell them?
Dumb.
Well, we can start there.
I mean, really, you do the math on any of it. It's just like, why would you do that?
But is it only dumb if you lose?
No.
So that makes it
if a guy called you with some stocks and said, hey, you have an 8% chance of this being amazing and a 92% chance of this being awful and you losing all your money, you want to get in? No one would take that stock. That's a terrible stock.
All right.
Yet people are like, ooh, the roulette table.
Right. So the foolishness, is obvious, but you do have people that are generally good at it. And that's when you have to come to them with a moral principle that's beyond what if you win?
That I think you get to what is your need to gamble?
Even if you win, is it wrong? That's the question.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, because you're taking
tithe on it.
Spoken like a pastor.
No. I don't care what you do as long as you tithe it.
I didn't say that. I just said if you won, we're here.
Because I think what's the heart behind?
Just joking, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, we are absolutely making jokes.
What is the heart behind your gambling? It's whether you feel the need. I need to get this money now,
right?
Or it's the thrill of all these odds. I'm sure to win.
Well, the principle of get rich quick is dangerous for a Christian. That's not a thing that should motivate a believer. Sitting around thinking about how you can hit a big windfall of money with as minimal work as possible, or do some chance game to hit some lottery or whatever. That's just not a Christian way of thinking. How do I turn a bunch of money for very little work? The Christian mentality is, throughout Scripture, is work is connected to money. And if you work, you can have money. And if you work hard, or if you're very gifted at a task or what you do, you can have money. And the money's never been the evil thing in Scripture. But the thing that's always been wrong in Scripture is that love and that focus and that meditating and dwelling on the money. And I don't see how gambling doesn't do that. That by nature, that's what gambling does, is it causes you to dwell on the get rich quick mentality.
Yeah.
So that's at least part of it, is it fosters a bad attitude. It also is based on some winning and some losing. I know you're going to go to investment there, but hold the thought.
I hadn't gotten there yet.
Well, you were teasing it though. So I think one thing about gambling is that it's based on someone has to lose in order for you to win. Right. So you're all putting money into a pot. That's just how gambling works. You all put money into a pot based on something happening or not happening.
Yep.
And the real money is if you were in the minority of whatever the thing you think is going to happen, and the thing you say happens, and then you get more money based than the person who would have chosen the more likely outcome.
Right.
So if you have a team that's bad and a team that's good that plays each other in sports, if you bet on the bad team and the bad team wins, you make a lot of money. Right. But if you bet on the sure winner, you make some money. You make a little money, but where does the money that you win come from? It comes from the people that bet on the worst team who put their money in.
Right.
That's where it comes from. So you are taking money from other people when you beat them, basically, in guessing correctly of what's going to happen. So is that called a zero-sum game, where you can either win or lose? There's no, you have to take from others and prey upon others to win.
The money's always at somebody's expense.
It's at someone's expense. That's a good way to say it. So I think that's another bad part about gambling. Now, you brought a good question. I think it's worth answering, which is...
I brought a good question.
Your insurance stuff and
you said
stocks, investments.
Isn't this, like, how is this investing different than this?
Well, I brought that up later, or before we started.
Yeah, but it's a good question. Someone's going to think about that question. And I would say the difference in investment is that no one has to lose an investment. You can lose an investment. Mm-hmm. But two things. Investment typically is based upon someone's work.
Yeah.
So if you think a company is going to be successful, you give them your money and you say, go and here's money to do work. You give it to them, they go do work. If they're successful, you own a portion of their company and therefore a portion of their proceeds and value.
Yeah.
So that's called being a shareholder. So you are betting on them to win. They could go under.
Right.
So, but I think what makes it, that doesn't sound to me like gambling. It sounds like risk. I don't think gambling and risk are the same.
I don't think that it's the same.
Yeah. Well, that and like those investment, like it's providing a service typically for somebody or for something like
a service or a product or whatever. I mean,
you
invest in Apple and then Apple sells the iPhone and then
with the intent the company is not going to purposely tank.
Right.
Yeah, but I think what I'm saying is, risk is not an anti-Christian thing. It's not just that you can't take on any risk in life, financially or otherwise. It's that you shouldn't be playing a game that causes someone else to lose by your success. Investing doesn't do that.
Not what every single game is. Someone loses and you win, or you win and
but not for money.
Not for money. Okay, so the money's where we draw.
You're not stealing when you beat somebody.
What about gloating? Is gloating acceptable?
Well, I think it was funny
in the right context.
I think it's funny because I feel like the word gambling, we've normalized it. It's like, oh man, I really took a gamble on doing this,
right?
And I think what we're trying to get at is it's at the loss or expense of somebody else.
And to your point, let's go there again. Could people get together, play a poker game for no money? Could Christians have, men's poker night and have zero money involved?
Yes.
Just for fun?
We bet on. I've done it before. I'm gonna be honest. We did cookies.
Okay.
You get out cookies and stuff like.
I'd be in for that game.
So
I like cookies.
I think now there might be some that think the association is a little unsavory, but I think it's one of those things that the real issue is the money involved. Yep. So I think you could play cards. I think you could play, different games of chance, as long as you're not, ripping somebody off in order to win. And then that brings to a third issue with gambling, which is just So we said the love of money. We said you cause others to lose. It's predatory. Third, I would say just it's poor stewardship. Like it's not how Christians are to handle their money and deal with their money. So, we have to view money as God's money. That's kind of the core. Would you say the core principle of stewardship?
Well, that's our heartbeat behind tithing. We're giving back to what God has provided to us first.
Yeah, but so behind giving back is the assumption that it belonged to Him before.
It first came
before you had.
Yeah, or you're like, hey, God gave me these abilities to work and do this specific thing. He's equipped us for that, so I want to give back to what He first gave me.
Yeah, and I think there's just with stewardship, like there's. Not all things that you spend your money on are equal in the world. Like there's things that God wants you to spend money on. Certainly your church and His work, His kingdom work. Food, sure. Like your family, setting up
cookies,
setting up things for your children to live and have, more than what you had and leave an inheritance to your children, to support institutions that need to continue the work of God's works. So like those are not all the same. It's just throwing away money most likely into things. Now, again, doesn't mean you can't have some frivolous purchases in your life, but there's just a different level to the complete lack of stewardship that goes along with gambling. There's no way to spin it positively.
Well, that you think about that, like that's got to be a rough life to live. Like you're working hard at your job, whatever you're making, and then, I'm just going to go toss it on some 20-year-old at a sports game that he may achieve what I want him to do.
Yeah, and especially the older you get, and you have a family, you really need to be justifying your purchases because that's things you could be doing that are much better and better for your family, and so. It's kind of an immature thing, really, to be gambling and be sending money away rather than building a future or building the kingdom of God. So, all that's in play. So it's bad stewardship. Anything else that you guys would add to that?
Well, I have a few verses pulled up. I know we all have them, but like you're talking about the get rich quick scheme, essentially. Like Proverbs talks about that in 13:11. It says, wealth gained hastily will dwindle, but whoever gathers little by little will increase it. So it's that idea of you're not looking for the big cash out immediately, but you're working hard and saving and back to stewardship as well.
Yeah. I think in general, this is one of those things that when you talk about we're supposed to love our neighbor, that's a very broad principle, but this is one of those cases where I think if this were gone, it would be better for our neighbor. Like the world would be a better place without gambling and especially without sports gambling, but any gambling. And so I think gambling tends to be, this was Scott Price's, my pastor friend from Bristol. His core argument for why they shouldn't bring the casino into town was beyond the act itself, but also that gambling is like a magnet for other bad things that absolutely always come with it. And you can act like they don't, but they do. It's sort of like when they arrested Chauncey Billups yesterday.
Who? The Trailblazers coach.
When they arrested the coach, it wasn't just for gambling the wrong way. It was an elaborate scheme of cheating that reached into 5 crime families. So that's my point, is it often goes into drugs. It often goes into prostitution. It often goes into, alcohol, and it goes into organized crime. It's too much temptation.
They're
and
fronts
money
for it. Yeah.
It's too much. And so if you think that it's kind of the old adage about playing with fire, thinking you won't get burned. It'll be different for me. No, it won't. So my encouragement to every young person that would listen to this is I would agree with the Southern Baptist statement that it is not worth your while to participate in gambling. I would even say it's sinful. And so you should definitely abstain from gambling. This is one of those things that our old Baptist grandfathers got right. And so we should probably speak about it a bit more, especially as the prevalence of it is going up and up and up. And man, the irony of watching them report this on ESPN. So they're reporting this whole story breaks, and they cut to commercial. And what was the commercial right afterwards? It was ESPN bet, and it was like, it was so funny because it was the same guy, Stephen A. Smith. He was doing the talking about how bad this was and how this is going to harm the game.
And he's like,
and then he was the guy, the spokesperson in the commercial for ESPN Bet. And I was like,
That's
man,
terrible.
how tone deaf is this right now? But that's the reality is,
Hypocrites.
it is. And, so just be aware of this, guys. Be on your guard. Gambling is definitely making a comeback. It's hot in the news right now. So a hot Christian topic. The Christian response, it sounds old. And I think Caleb, to your point, it's maybe a lot of young people put it in that category of dancing, of just something that old guys used to rail about. And, but now it's one of those things that proved to be true in time. So they were right about it all along. So anyway, hopefully that helps you guys out there. And hopefully this was something that's a little hot button issue that'll help you walk through some things going on in our modern world. Hope you guys have an awesome week, and we'll see you again next time on Off Script. Bye-bye.